Have you ever stopped to think about the world around you? Not just the trees, the sky, or the buildings, but the very space they exist in. We live our lives in a familiar reality. We move forward and backward. We can step left or right, and we can jump up or fall down. These three directions, length, width, and height, define our world. They are the dimensions we experience every single day without a second thought. Imagine you are describing your location to a friend. You might say, "I'm on the 5th floor of the building on the corner of Main Street and Oak Avenue." You've just used all three dimensions. Main Street and Oak Avenue pinpoints a location on a flat map. That's 2 dimensions like a piece of paper. Then the 5th floor adds the 3rd dimension, height. But what if this comfortable 3-dimensional world isn't the whole story? What if the reality we perceive is just a slice of a much larger, more complex cosmos? Imagine a tiny ant walking along a long, straight telephone wire. From our human perspective, high above, the ant can only move in one direction, forward or backward along the line. But now let's zoom in. Let's get down to the ant's level. From its perspective, the world is not a simple line at all. The ant can not only walk forward and backward along the wire's length, but it can also walk around the wire's circumference. What we saw as 1 dimension, the ant experiences as 2. It has a whole other direction of movement that was completely invisible to us from our distant vantage point. Let us begin our journey by stepping into a universe utterly unlike our own. Imagine a world that exists on a vast, infinite sheet of paper. This is Flatland. The inhabitants of this world are not solid beings like us, but flat geometric shapes. When a square looks at a triangle, it doesn't see a complete shape as we would from above. Instead, it sees only a straight line. To us, looking down from our 3-dimensional vantage point, we can see everything inside their houses. We can see the family of polygons sitting around their table. But for them, their walls are impenetrable barriers. One night, our square is at home, safely inside his locked house. Suddenly, a mysterious being appears right in the middle of his room. The visitor appears to him as a circle, but a circle that is constantly changing in size. Then it does something even more astounding. It gently lifts the square up, out of the plane of Flatland. For the first time, the square is pulled into the 3rd dimension, a direction he never knew existed. The moment the square is lifted from his plane is one of profound, terrifying revelation. Suddenly, he sees his world as it truly is. He sees not just lines, but the full shapes of his fellow citizens. Filled with a missionary zeal, the square is returned to his home in Flatland. He tries to explain his vision to his fellow Flatlanders. He speaks of the 3rd dimension, of up, of a world beyond their plane. But his words fall on deaf ears. His society, so rigid and orderly, cannot tolerate such a radical idea. The circles, the leaders of Flatland, see his gospel as a threat to their authority. They arrest him. His story ends as a tragedy, but it leaves us with a profound and inspiring question. If a Flatlander could be so wrong about his reality, could we be just as wrong about ours? Let's build it up logically. A point has 0 dimensions. Move that point a certain distance and you trace a line, a 1-dimensional object. Now take that line and move it perpendicular to itself for the same distance. You create a square, a 2-dimensional object. Next, take that square and move it or extrude it perpendicular to its surface for the same distance. You create a cube, our familiar 3-dimensional object. So, to imagine a 4-dimensional hypercube, we have to perform the same operation one more time. This strange, shifting object is honestly the best representation our 3-dimensional world can offer of a 4-dimensional hypercube. When you look at a drawing of a tesseract, you're seeing a flattened, distorted version of a perfectly symmetrical object. At its heart, string theory proposes a radical and elegant idea. It suggests that if you could zoom in on the fundamental particles that make up our universe, you would find they're not points at all. Instead, they're unimaginably tiny, vibrating loops of energy, like microscopic guitar strings. In this view, the entire universe, with its rich diversity of particles and forces, is nothing more than a grand cosmic symphony played on these minuscule, vibrating strings. This is a truly breathtaking vision. String theory requires that the universe possesses a staggering 10 dimensions in total, 9 dimensions of space and 1 of time. M theory, the overarching framework, required one more dimension, bringing the grand total to 11. We have traveled on an extraordinary journey together, from the simple flat plane of Flatland to the mind-bending frontiers of 11-dimensional M theory. We started by questioning the very ground beneath our feet, learning that our perception of reality is profoundly limited by our senses. Our universe has been transformed. It is no longer just a vast empty space with 3 directions. It has become a rich multi-layered cosmos, a place of vibrating strings, floating brains, and hidden geometries. Whether these theories are ultimately proven correct or not, they have already succeeded in expanding our vision of what reality could be. They push us to look beyond the obvious and to embrace the idea that we are still at the very beginning of our quest to understand the universe. The quest to understand the universe is a story without an ending. Every new discovery, every answered question, only opens up a dozen more questions, each more profound than the last. The journey has just begun. So I encourage you to keep looking up at the stars with a newfound sense of wonder. Because when we dare to think beyond the world we can see, we are not just exploring the secrets of the cosmos. We are unlocking the limitless potential of our own minds and participating in the grand, never-ending human adventure of discovery. The familiar world around us now shimmers with the possibility of unseen depths and unimaginable complexity. The journey has just begun.